Hello beautiful people, welcome back to my podcast styled YouTube channel. So my channel mainly tries to target a black female audience, although everyone is free to watch my content because I don't just talk about black female issues. However, for the most part, my channel mostly caters to black women because I feel like there should be more spaces for black women to showcase their talents, beauty, etc. without people essentially butting in, because other races of women have their own spaces that we don't complain about. So because my channel is a space for black women specifically, I decided that in addition to talking about serious issues, I wanted to make more videos surrounding the celebration of black women rather than just focusing on serious issues that affect us. That includes celebrating our achievements, our beauty, history, and so on. I think that it would be good for other black women to see more positive images of them in hopes that it helps with the self-esteem of young black girls and women. So with that being said, I wanted to make a video celebrating black women in the 90s. So the 90s is one of my favorite decades for many reasons, and it's not just the music or the fashion, but more because of how black women had more of a positive representation in the 90s. Now, that doesn't mean there was no colorism or bad representation. I'm just saying that there is more examples of positive representation back then than there is today. In this video, I'm going to be exploring different points on where I think black women did very well in taking control of their own representation. The first area that we're going to be exploring is music. I do think that the 90s was the decade that introduced us to a lot of black female artists that we look up to till this day, especially in R&B. I made a video talking about how I think R&B has changed throughout time, which you should probably check out. But anyway, the 1990s introduced us to a lot of dark-skinned female artists like Brandy, Janet Jackson, Lauryn Hill, to name a few. Of course, during the 90s, you had lighter-skinned women and mixed women who paved the way to like Aaliyah, Maya, and Mariah Carey. However, for now, I'm going to be focusing on darker-skinned women slightly more in this video because darker-skinned women have a harder time getting positive representation. Singers like Brandy are a good representation of darker-skinned women because she could sing without having to do the most without being too extra, and she also made really good music. Also, Gabrielle and Desiree, who are both black British-born artists, also to me are good examples because they didn't have to sing songs about explicit things in order for their music to be noticed. Also, the fact that I'm a Gabrielle fan may also play a role in why I mentioned her. Even in the rap game, dark-skinned women had their time, like Lil Kim and Foxy Brown. Now, this might stir some controversy because some women might argue that these two beautiful women had to over-sexualize themselves. However, others might argue that they were just reclaiming their sexuality. I don't know, you be the judge. But if you're not feeling Lil Kim and Foxy Brown, Lauryn Hill is another good example because she was woke. And again, she didn't have to rap about raunchy things and she was still taken seriously as an artist. We also saw a large wave of black girl bands like TLC, SWV, and En Vogue. Of course, a lot of the beautiful black women that we idolize today were first introduced to us back in the 90s. For example, Nia Long, Tatiana Ali, Jada Pinkett Smith, and Naomi Campbell. I love the 90s makeup, especially on black women because they didn't have to oversaturate their faces with makeup. The natural look pretty much dominated in the 90s. Black women were also rocking different hairstyles during this time, especially braids. However, it was common to see black women with straight hair, whether it was long or short. It was common to see artists like Toni Braxton and actress Nia Long with this hairstyle. Black women during the 90s were not blessed the way we are today to have cosmetic lines that cater to the needs of black women. Darker skinned ones at that. They had to do the best they could at that time. Who knows, maybe if they were blessed with the same cosmetic lines that we have today, maybe they would have beat their faces. Honestly, I just love how black women were naturally beautiful during this decade. I mean, black women are still naturally beautiful today. It's just they really pushed more of that natural look back then more than they do today. During the 90s, with what I've noticed, there were two different types of black girls. You had the black girls that wore the oversized t-shirts and the baggy trousers who went for more of the tomboyish look. And then you had the other black girls who wore crop tops with mini skirts and who wore clothes that shaped their figure very well. I think both styles were cute, however, I gravitate more towards the crop top and mini skirt look. Black girls were seen wearing many different colors, but then again, the 90s was a colorful decade, the 90s and the 80s. People still rock these trends till this day, especially the tomboy look. A lot of the trends that other races of women wear today are trends that were started by black women, of course. A lot of the trends that black women wore were around long before the 90s. However, they were seen a lot on black girls during this time. Trends seen on black women also included lining the lips with black eyeliner, then topping it off with lip balm, then of course the bandanas, the bantu knots or china bumps depending on where you live, and of course braids. Other trends and styles include the baby hairs, the overly long nails, and the unique hairstyles. Now, I said in previous videos that it was common to see elements of colorism in TV shows during the 90s and biracial women playing roles that were meant for black women. However, there were some movies that had black women as main characters and love interests without them being angry, or just had more of a positive promotion. For example, Brandy and Moesha. I think how the black woman from a different world were depicted was positive promotion. I mean, if you ask me. Nia Long in Love Jones. I also like how Regina King and Tyra Banks were portrayed in the film Higher Learning. Basically, shows or films involving young black children going to uni or who are in higher education interest me because I love seeing smart black children being represented because we're viewed as uneducated. So, as you can see, we were doing our thing during the 90s, which we should be proud of and acknowledge. This is why I decided to make a video like this. Of course, us black women were killing it in other decades, which reminds me, if you would like me to make one about black women during the 80s, then comment down below, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye!